Welcome back, everybody. I'm Randy. This is the 5 Garage, and today is high pressure fuel pump internals day. All right, first thing you're going to want to do is you want to grab a 10mm wrench and begin by taking off the shroud on your intercooler. Next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and disconnect the negative battery cable. Okay, your high pressure fuel pump is this right here, what I'm pointing at. The next step you want to do is you want to disconnect this cable off of the top of the pump. There are two nuts, a 17mm and a 19mm, that are on the back of the pump that you need to disconnect. You need to loosen the 17 from the 19 in order to be able to pull the fuel lines apart. Now, I am going to go ahead and take my battery and move it out of the way to give myself a little bit more room to work with.
Okay guys, here is that 17mm and 19mm bolts I was telling you about, and you're going to want to use opening wrenches to get this off. Now, remember, the fuel that is in this line is under very high pressure. My car sat for a couple of days before I did this, so the fuel pressure was able to drop. But if you were driving a car recently and you're going to perform this mod, make sure to wear some safety goggles just as a precaution in case that fuel is still under pressure in the line.
Now, extra pro tip, before you completely loosen that 19mm nut, go ahead, grab yourself a zip tie and put it behind that nut to make sure it doesn't slip down, because it's an absolute pain to try to fish it out of there. You can also use a magnetic pickup tool, but I'm just going to do this with the zip tie. Next up, we need to remove the low pressure lines from the top of the fuel pump, and those lines are here and here. To remove the low pressure fuel lines, you're probably going to use a small flathead screwdriver. The yellow one you are going to want to pry up, and the blue one you want to pry apart. You want to make sure both of those clips stay on those lines. They do not come off. So, get in there and so you pop up that one. Got a little lid right here in case of spillage, fuel spillage. Don't want fuel spilling in front. Oh, good. There's the yellow one. Pull it back and up. Okay, now that your low pressure fuel lines are off, you are going to want to remove the 3 bolts that are holding the fuel pump on. Now, these are not normal socket bolts. They're known as what's called an E-socket or a reverse Torx. And I will show you one here to let you guys see what it looks like. This is what's known as E-socket or a reverse Torx. And as you can see, it has the star head pattern of the bolt. And you need to get, if you're going to be working on your Speed 3, you pretty much are going to have to invest in a set of these. I got these from Harbor Freight. I think I paid like $7, so it's a good deal. It's a good thing to have. To remove the high pressure fuel pump from the car, you want to use your e-socket, but you do not want to take one bolt completely out. You want to loosen them up in a circular pattern to relieve the pressure on the pump, because there is a spring behind here. So you do not want to cause damage to your pump or that spring. Now that you got all three of the bolts out, what you want to do, you want to remove the fuel pump. You want to kind of wiggle it a little bit. Don't force it, and it should just come gently free. So, come on. Oh, there we go. And the pump is out. Now, there is a lifter bucket that needs to stay in there, and I'll show this with my cell phone camera so you guys can take a look. But mine has fortunately stayed in there, so we're good on that end. And for those of you wondering who's never done this before like me, this is your high pressure fuel pump. Next step, you're going to need a vise, because you're going to need something to hold the fuel pump when you have to break loose this 18mm nut. So get a rag, set it in your vise, and then tighten down your fuel pump just enough so it holds it snug, so it doesn't move free while you try to break this nut loose. This is the piece we'll be replacing. This is the Corksport high pressure fuel pump internal kit. It comes in this neat little case, and I will show you when you get stuff, it's all neatly packed in here. This is a cylinder that will help you put the spring retainer onto the piston sleeve. You get this cool tool as well that aids in that process. It can also be used as a can opener later. And you have your new piston and a new spring with the spring retainer in it. Okay, so now we will start assembling the new piston spring combo for your fuel pump. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take these out of the plastic. First step is to take this tool and the retainer, and you want to fit it inside the Corksport tool with the opening. I don't know if you guys can see this, but with the opening facing like so you can put that together. Now, I have some new oil here. I also have the fuel that came out of the fuel pump. And the next step is to take your new piston and you want to oil this up. Okay, now that you got that well oiled, you want to take it and insert it into the seal screw. You're going to take your new spring and install it onto the seal screw. And there you go. Next, take your Corksport installation tool, put that in there, and click it in like so. Now you're going to take your tube, set this on top of it, and then with the handle of a screwdriver, you are going to knock this little tappet down until it is flush. And you can see that you got it in there because it was raised. You can now actually see, probably not, but a little bit of the tappet head in the groove area. And the way to test is to try to pull this off. And I'm giving this pretty good torque, so that is good. Voila. And now your new piston and sleeve is put together. Next step is to install this back into the fuel pump. Now we're going to take our new Corksport fuel pump internals and reinstall them back in the pump. You want to go ahead, and I already have it pretty well oiled, but I'm going to go ahead and put some extra oil on here just in case before I install it back into the pump. And when you install this, you're going to want to tighten this down finger tight. It's very easy to cross thread these into the pump, and you do not want that to happen. FYI, this sleeve comes out. Make sure when you put this back into the fuel pump that the large end goes inside of the piston sleeve and the small end is at the bottom, or it will not go together. Okay, let's try this again. Like I said, make sure you get that in there finger tight, like I did so. And then you want to get your torque wrench and tighten this down to 40 foot-pounds. Let me creep up to it. I have my first torque setting at 15 pounds. At 25 pounds. And then 35 pounds. And then our final torque at 40. And as you can see, I don't know if it will not, but on a wrench, it's set to 40 foot-pounds. Alright, we're torqued down. Next thing you want to do is you want to reinstall your pump, and it's a chance to focus. As you can see, I have gone ahead and added some fresh oil to that O-ring to kind of help make this go smoother. So what you want to do to install the pump is when you put it in, you don't want to force it in. You just want to kind of gently kind of wiggle it back in and slowly tighten down the screws by hand. Next up, you're going to take the 19mm nut and reattach it to the 17mm outlet on the back of the fuel pump. Next up is to reattach your low pressure fuel hoses back on. Remember, yellow goes here, all the way down. Then, blue one, back there, snap. Yellow one. Then you reattach the electrical connector. And now we put the battery box and the battery back in and then start the car to make sure there's no leaks. I started the car to make sure that there was no leaks. We look good on that front. A little bit later, I am going to hook up my access port and go do a couple runs and make some logs just to make sure that everything's looking okay. Usually on startup, I would get about 1,200 to 1,300 pounds. When I did the startup after the install, it was immediately around 1,600, so everything's looking good. I hope you liked the video and will be comfortable yourselves with doing this mod on your car. Just take your time, read through the instructions a couple times. I actually watched a Corksport install video to get myself familiar with the steps, and I had the instructions on hand as well in case I had any questions or I might get a little stuck. So take your time, it's fairly straightforward, and when you're done, your car is ready for the next level of mods of whatever you choose to do. As always, if you guys have any questions or any suggestions or you just want to talk about something, leave me something down in the comment section. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. And if you would like to see some more mods I do to this car, as well as some maintenance videos I'm going to be doing on my motorcycle, go ahead, click the subscribe button. I am going to take my new Corksport bottle opener, get myself an adult beverage, and enjoy the rest of my day, and I will see you guys later.